as long as we're in Vegas, we may as well talk to a premier act and a dear friend, Donny Osmond.
How are you, Adam?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you.
We go way back.
60 years in show business.
Can you believe it? And I'm only 49.
That's insane.
Yeah. I can't figure the math out.
I mean, when did you... I mean, you were in single digits when you started show business,
well, it's
right?
4 when I started singing professionally at 5. It all happened on the Andy Williams show.
Oh,
with my brothers.
Yeah. I told you in our last interview, the only good part of my childhood is when I was about 10, I looked a little bit like you.
Really?
A little bit.
So this is what I'm going to look like someday?
Wait a minute. Damn, that stung. Well, you don't drink caffeine. You don't drink alcohol.
I stay away from that stuff. Yeah.
Right. So you are...
Well, if you saw the show, you understand why, because it's so demanding physically. Because the amount of singing and the amount of dancing and the production alone is crazy. In fact, do you know who Raj Kapoor is?
No.
He's the go-to guy in Hollywood. He does the Grammys, the Oscars, the Emmys. He's the one that puts it all together. He and I put this show together. And the whole concept is that I said, Raj, I want to put 6 decades of show business in a 90-minute show. And he says, I'm up for the challenge. And we did it.
And now you're taking it on the road, right?
Yeah.
I should toss out a site, and I have to apologize. We're kind of skeleton crewed here today, so we screwed up some of the beat sheets. But Donny.com is where you go. You're going out in July.
Yeah,
going all over the country.
When I invented the internet, I came up with Donny.com.
Smart.
Yeah.
And so semi-trucks, tour buses,
It's a bus and truck. I mean, almost every year of my life I've been touring. But I haven't toured since 17 because of COVID and focusing on this Vegas show. So I thought, not everybody can come to Vegas, so I'm going to take Vegas to them.
And again, you'll be going all over the country. So
yeah, and the UK.
Oh, and the UK.
At the end of the year.
As well. Now, your other family members, are they in Branson?
Well, they used to be, but you're talking about Tito and Jermaine?
Yes.
And
that's
Janet.
Right. That's right.
They, No, they don't perform in Branson anymore. As a matter of fact, most of them have retired from the business. Yeah.
I don't, I talk to people who retire. Well, first off, 60 or 55 or 63 or whatever the retirement. It's not what it used to be.
What do you mean?
I mean, I talk to people who are like, I was a fireman for LA County, and the guy's like 51, and he's in great shape, and he looks good.
And he's retiring.
And he goes, next year I'm going to retire.
I don't get that.
I don't get it.
I mean, what's fun about retiring? See, unless you don't like what you do. I mean, I love what I do. I get on stage and perform, and yes, it's arduous. It's very, very difficult. But I love what I do, so why would I stop?
No, I agree. It's a good argument to kind of find your muse.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be found on stage. There's a lot of people that build,
right,
and they like building,
right,
and it satisfies them, and they feel like it's a sense of meaning.
Well, what's interesting about what we're talking about here is that by retiring, you stop what you're doing. I just released my 65th album.
That's incredible.
I want to go to 68 because I think if I go to 68, I'll hold the record. I'll beat Elvis. So that's
really?
My goal, But what I did is that in this show, I put all 65 albums in the show.
Wow.
Because I started thinking, okay, what album do I highlight? Obviously, I want to highlight the new one, Start Again. And I do like 4 songs from that album. But I started thinking, there's going to be members in the audience, they're going to say, but I want to hear this song, and I want to hear that song. So for 15 minutes, it's completely improv. And the audience can pick any song from any of the 65 albums I've ever done in my entire life, and we do it just like that. And it's fun for us because it changes every night.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the caveat when you perform. It's great to be on stage and you never want to retire, but on the other hand, if you're doing the exact same act night in and night out, it does get a little repetitious and arduous.
That's why you've got to keep constantly reinventing yourself. And that's, I've made an occupation of reinvention, because I was doing an interview not long ago, And this guy said, you know, I've counted them up. And he said, Donny, I think you're on your 7th career. Because if you go back to the Andy Williams show, and then you go to the Puppy Love era, or the One Bad Apple era, then you go to the Donny and Marie era, then you go to the Soldier of Love era, where I reinvented myself and got back on the charts, then the Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat era, then you go to Dancing with the Stars, and then The Masked Singer. I mean, it's Mulan. That's an interesting part of the show. I've noticed a lot of younger people come to the show because of, like Mulan, they discovered the fact that I'm Captain Shang. So
Yeah.
I got permission from Disney to actually use the film in my show. First generation, all the original sound effects, and we recreate the stick fight dancing that Captain Shang does. So Captain Shang, who's me, is behind me, and we're doing the same thing. It's really kind of a cool segment of the show.
Well, it's nice to be liked because then people like Disney will clear footage for you.
Yeah, but you know what's interesting about what you just said? I know what it's like on the other side. I mean, let's be honest with each other. The name Donny Osmond was a joke years ago.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Well-
if you said you liked Donny Osmond music, you were ousted. In fact, it was WPLJ in New York. You know, PLJ, back in the day, was like the #1 pop station. They got a hold of Soldier of Love as an import.
Was that 87?
89. Good
89.
memory, yes. Because I think we did interviews around that time as well.
No, I wasn't in show. I was still on a
you were
construction
still-
site.
okay, got it, okay.
But I may have caught you on Loveline a few years later.
They played the record to test it because they liked the song, but they just didn't want to say my name.
Right.
In fact, back in '83, which is just, I think, around the time Thriller came out, Michael Jackson told me, he said, because I asked him, Mike, how do I get back on the charts? He said, your name's Poison, Donny. You got to change your name. and it was very offensive. I mean, it was tough to hear that. But he was right. Because in '89, radio stations all across the country played my music, but didn't say my name. And they did me a favor by not saying who I was. And it became a hit. Then they found out it was me.
Yeah, well, you have to be able to internalize a little bit to go through that experience, you know, to have somebody say your name is Poison,
Yeah.
or people think you're a joke sonically because they think of Puppy Love.
Right.
And then there's 2 postures you can have. You can fight them, which is what most people do, and go harder, or you can accept it even if it's not right. Like you can go, well, that's incorrect, but the people have spoken. That's the way they think, and I shall adjust.
You're hitting on a very deep philosophy that I've learned throughout my life, and to a certain extent, the hard way. Because during the reinvention of myself with Soldier of Love, I go back and I look at all the videos and the pictures and stuff. I'm in my torn jeans and leather jacket, skull and crossbone in the back, all that kind of stuff, trying really, really hard to say, look, I'm not the Puppy Love kid anymore. And then I don't know if it's just sheer age or just the reinvention of myself or all the other things that I've done subsequent to that. But I did exactly what you're saying. I'm not fighting against it anymore. In fact, Puppy Love's the 4th song in the set list. And I do a rap. Have you heard about the rap that I do on stage?
No.
Oh, my goodness, Adam. I go from, it's a 10-minute rap. And I go from the beginning to the current. It all began back in Utah. I was 4 years old, started singing with my brothers, and the sound was like gold. So my folks took a leap and said, what the hey, we got to get these monsters out to California. And it goes faster and faster for 10 minutes. And you actually see everything I've done in 6 decades.
Visually.
While I'm doing
rapping
this
over
rap.
it.
And when I did this for the first time, opening night, this was the look of the audience, because I'm up there, I'm again back, and I'm working the stage, and I'm doing all kinds of stuff, and here's the audience. No response. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm really bombing up here. This is just going over like a lead balloon. This is getting cut tomorrow. Until I finished it. The audience went crazy, and I realized at that moment there's just so much data happening within that 10-minute span. They don't have time to react to anything. It's just like, somebody used a word the other day which was so perfect to describe that rap. He said it shows the breadth. That's the word he used. It shows the breadth of the 6 decades of what you've been able to reinvent yourself. And I included failures in this thing, not just the high points, the low points.
What were the lowest?
Oh, I
of the
opened
low
and closed
points?
on Broadway in one day.
Oh, one day.
One show.
What year?
That was 81, 82. 82.
How does one open and close in one day?
Oh, I'm good at it. In fact, Disney asked me to come play Gaston in Beauty and the Beast. So I did a 5-month run. They were on Broadway for 17 years, right? So I do my 5-month run. It was so much fun. I go to England to do a tour. They give me a call and they said, we're closing the show. Would you like to do the last show? And I said, well, I'm pretty good at closing shows. I'll be there. They wanted me to be the final Gaston.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
But the bad part is you did a Broadway show that lasted one
day. It was called Little Johnny Jones. Here's the rub, okay? We had to stop the show on opening night 3 times for standing ovations. Because, like I was saying earlier, the name Donny Osmond was a joke. The show was unbelievable. It was the tap dancing, the sets, it's the show that Give My Regards to Broadway and Yankee Doodle Dandy came from, George M. Cohan back in 1904. It was redone. And I played George M. Cohan. And we stopped the show 3 times for standing ovations, but my name got in the way.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, I think everybody runs into that at some point. Some people benefit from it. Like, we know people that aren't particularly dripping with talent. I know comedians who I don't think are the funniest guys on the planet, but they've crafted something where their
reputation.
name, yeah, and you know, we just sort of live in a world where I don't know that anyone could tell the difference between any light beer or any vodka. There's 35
Well, don't ask me.
vodkas. Well, I'll tell you.
Okay.
You know, there's a bar downstairs. There's probably 10 different vodka bottles.
And they all are the same?
The bottles are all different. What's in it cannot be deciphered from the bottle next to it. What I'm telling you, and I'd love to head down there and get shit-faced with you right after the interview, because that would be fun. But you can't tell the difference between the Smirnoff, like the cheap stuff, and the Grey Goose, or the whatever, the good stuff, or the stuff Dan Aykroyd puts in a skull. You know,
right. It's all down to image, isn't it?
Tastes the same, but people have very strong opinions. They get associated with when they order the drinks. They go, "I want a Stoli." You know that. It doesn't matter
Well,
what
believe
the
me,
vodka
I
is.
understand exactly what you're talking about.
So there's
because
a winning and a losing side of that.
Absolutely, and everybody wants to be associated with the winner. And well, look at the advent of AI. I mean, just today, Facebook, the AI sandbox that Zuckerberg just announced. We're getting to the point where what's real, you
Right.
know, and what's cool, because we always want to be with the cool person, you know.
Right.
And I've experienced that through my life, because it takes a lot to reinvent yourself and rebrand yourself to where, yeah, it's cool. I see it all the time with especially guys. My audience has predominantly been women all my life, but I've seen a very interesting dynamic change in my audiences. And I see every night, I see these guys are kind of like, I don't really want to be here, you know, which is changing a lot. But by the time the show is over, it's so cool for me to watch this, because I know what they're about to go through for 90 minutes. They're the first ones on their feet, because they see the amount of change that has taken place in 6 decades.
Yeah, so I've decided that most of the time when you try to poo-poo something and kind of go, oh, please, I don't want to go see Celine Dion or Siegfried and Roy or something. Come on, man. I want to see something cool and
Until you
edgy
see
and
it.
whatever. And then you see it. It could be a stand-up comedian, could be a magician, could be a singer. You then see it and you go, oh, I understand now why they sell these places
Well,
out.
I think what happens now
And that must take place a lot with you.
Of course it has over my lifetime. But what happens is that people have an opinion about something based upon somebody else's opinion. And social media has really exacerbated that. Because if everybody's saying it's cool, I better say it's cool, otherwise I'm going to be ousted from my friends. It's such a weird dynamic.
But do you feel like in the aggregate, it's sort of evened out? Like maybe you got built up too much when you were 9 years old. Like how talented can you be? How good can your voice be?
I'm going to put on the ego cap right now, okay?
Please.
I watched a video. Forgive me, because this is going to sound really egotistical. I watched a video of what my brothers and I did. This is pre-auto-tune. This is pre-everything. It was spot on.
How old were you?
I was 13, 14.
Oh, look, there's no doubt you guys were talented, and there's no doubt you could sing and dance. What I'm saying is you were built up to for the people that are a little bit younger who are listening, Donny Osmond, the Osmonds, it was in the zeitgeist. There was the Saturday morning cartoons.
Yep.
You know, people would come up to me and go, "Hey, you look like Donny Osmond," and no one went, "Who?" Like it was ubiquitous.
Yeah.
There's nobody who did not know the name of Donny Osmond in America and beyond by the time Donny got to his 10th birthday. So I'm saying it was built up, and when it's built up, at some point, the same people have to go after you. It's the cycle. And then at some point, you land where you should be, which is sort of where you are.
That's why when I got the call to be the first masked singer, I was the very first one. I started the whole thing as the peacock. As soon as Dina Katz was the lady's name who booked me on that show. As soon as she started explaining what the show was, I said, "Stop right now. I get the joke. I'm on." And she said, "Okay, you're the first one. Which costume do you want?" I said, "I'm a peacock." And T-Pain beat me. I was runner-up, but and he deserved it because he's so talented. But the reason I wanted to do that show is because everything is erased. We're all on now the same playing field.
Yes.
And I think that's why the show is so popular, is because they're watching real talent. There's nothing fixed about it.
Well, I did
Singing live, the
I
whole
did
bit.
it myself. So there were certain
How
episodes
did
where
you
they
do?
weren't watching real talent.
How did you do it? But it was fun, wasn't it?
Well, yeah. You know what it was? It was an experience. And I'm all about experiences. And there is something when you get to a certain level where you've done the Toyota Grand Prix of Long Beach.
That's right.
Did you win it?
I won it.
You won it. I won it as well. You do The Masked Singer. You do Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah,
I mean,
won that.
We've had the same career.
Yeah.
That's what I've learned from this. Now,
You have 65 albums too? Unbelievable.
63, but I'm dropping 2 Tuesday.
Okay,
so
great. Okay.
I'm nipping at you. We've led. Boy, did we start off in different places in life, but we ended up in a lot of the same places.
Yeah.
And whether it was the Toyota Grand Prix, or it was Dancing with the Stars, or it was The Masked Singer, you get to have something more than fun. You get to have an experience that can't be simulated, because you can do a video game where you're driving an F1 car through Monaco.
Now go get in a real F1.
But there's not 50,000 people at the actual event watching you do this. And there's not millions watching you do it on Dancing with the Stars. And you cannot synthesize that environment, you know? And for me, I was like, I'm no good at singing and I'm no good at dancing, but it's not going to stop me from having the experience. As a matter of fact, the experience will probably be more intense because I have no aptitude.
Well, I don't know about that, because it's all relative to the talent you have that you're putting forth. But yes, it was so intense for me too. I mean,
what was the most? It was Dancing with the Stars, Masked Singer, and Masked Singer you liked because people could just hear your voice minus any of the preconceived notions. Right?
Correct. Dancing with the Stars was really difficult.
It was.
I was oh my goodness, I was at the bottom of the leaderboard, and so I said, I'm not going to lose on my watch. I am just going to work my butt off. Kim Johnson was my partner, and she worked me to death. And a sweet lady, but don't give that woman a whip. It's, oh my goodness. I looked at her saying she's the reason we won because she worked me to death.
Oh, you won Dancing with the Stars
and
as well.
I was doing shows here in Vegas 5 nights a week while I was doing Dancing with the Stars.
All right. Well, this brings up a good point. This may sound like sour grapes or one bad apple.
Oh, my goodness.
That was you guys, right?
That was very clever.
Okay.
Very clever.
Big
Never
hit.
heard that before.
Big hit. All right. Tell me what you think.
Okay.
I'm the same way. I've been doing Dancing with the Stars. I'm doing morning radio in L.A. I'm
at the same time.
What am
Bless
I
your
supposed
heart.
to do? Quit my radio job for 4 months or whatever it is?
Yeah.
So I'm showing up at the radio station at 5:30 every morning.
Oh my
I got 2 newborn twins.
Oh my goodness.
At home, and I got to do radio from 6. I'm getting out of the building at noon, 11 in the morning, noon, and then I'm going to dance rehearsal.
Yeah.
And I basically said, look, I got 2 hours every day, all day, but 2 hours. I have a full-time job. And Christy Yamaguchi, who ended up winning, she flies out. She lives in like one of the Carolinas. She flies out. She stays at a hotel.
Yeah.
And all she does is dance. There's nothing.
How do you compete against that?
She's world class.
Yeah.
Before she does it on ice skates.
Right.
But okay, she's doing 12 hours a day because that's all she's got. She doesn't have the kids. She doesn't have the job. She
radio
doesn't have to fly back and forth to Vegas.
Right.
She doesn't have any of these things. Now look, what we're looking for is parity, right? Cap it at 4 hours. You do what they do in in high school football and college football, in pro football. They don't let you put pads on in June. They go, you can do 7-on-7, but you can't do pads. There's a bunch of stuff to keep parity, right? She's going to beat my ass anyway.
So have fun with it.
Right.
That's exactly what you should have done. You're not going to win, Adam. There's no way you're going to win.
Yeah.
But you can certainly have a great experience.
I did.
I could just imagine people watching us right now said, oh, you poor guys, Dancing with the Stars, radio show. I'm doing a 9 to 5 and I hate my job. And they're probably thinking, don't complain. And it's, to a certain extent, they're right.
Yes.
We are in a great business. We love it. We entertain people. You make people laugh. You inform people. I get on stage and I change everyone's opinion, and everybody leaves the theater with a smile on their face, enjoy the entertainment. It's a great job. It's as hard as you can imagine, but we love what we do, don't we?
Well,
at the end of the day, we really shouldn't complain.
Well, you have a good attitude about it. I get paid to complain, so I can't stop complaining. But the difference between you and I, and your attitude is amazing considering you've been doing this since you were a zygote.
Yeah.
Like, this is all you've ever done.
Yeah.
I constantly remind people that I had jobs crawling underneath houses, digging footings, up on roofs, in the hot sun, stripping asphalt shingles and stuff. I did this for so long that whenever somebody says, oh, man, they added a 3rd show in Naples, Florida, you're going to be up for it? I'm like, I'm standing in air conditioning. I'm telling jokes. I'm not up on the roof. I'm not demoing out stucco. I'm not covered with dust.
Which takes us back full circle to what you said earlier. Why retire? Why retire?
If I was still on a roof, I would want to retire.
True.
But I'm indoors. I'm talking to Donny Osmond. It's air conditioned.
Yeah.
I have no reason
Nothing
to want
to
to
complain
not
about.
do that.
Well, just the fact that I have my own show on the Strip in the entertainment capital of the world. And someone told me the other day, he said, Don, do you realize how fortunate you are? Your sign, your billboard just uses your first name. How many people can do that? You can count them on one hand.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? You're absolutely right. I am so lucky right now, so fortunate. Yes, we both have worked hard in our own industries. And but still, there's a lot of people out there that work their tails off that don't get it.
Here's something to think about.
Yeah.
Which I'm kind of interested in. And I'm not interested in throwing any shade at, I'll bring up Dave Chappelle's name.
Okay.
But you. Now, so you go out on stage every night and you have a mission. I must change the mind of this 48-year-old guy who got dragged here by his girlfriend.
I'll correct you, but finish your thought.
But through your own admission, you're saying like you're going to change when we're done. You're going to think of Donny Osmond differently, perhaps, than you did. Not that we think you're a slouch, but I just mean this is not the 8-year-old Donny Osmond. This is Donny Osmond, the guy who can perform, the guy who can sing, the guy who's talented. So I'm not saying you have a chip on your shoulder, but
I used to.
You have.
Go ahead and finish your thought.
You're there to change minds, not for the entire audience, but for a percentage of the audience.
Okay.
And then there are guys who have the exact opposite situation, guys like Dave Chappelle. People love Dave Chappelle, and they worship at the altar of Dave Chappelle. And whatever baggage comes along in a maybe negative way with a Donny Osmond or sometimes even Celine Dion or whatever.
Sure.
Dave Chappelle is on the other side of that seesaw. He's the coolest. You know, if you read his stand-up, if you read a transcript of his stand-up, you probably wouldn't think it was much better than many other comedians.
But it's the delivery.
But he's Dave Chappelle.
That's right.
You know what I mean? But sometimes I'll see Dave Chappelle perform, and he's in no hurry to make people laugh. I mean, he's out there, he lights a cigarette, he leans back, he takes a sip off a beer.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, as a comedian, you know, hey, pick it up.
Right.
But he doesn't have to prove that to his audience. His audience has him up there as he shows up.
Right.
And I feel like sometimes, and I feel it myself sometimes, because people don't traditionally think of me as a stand-up. I think, I got to get out there and I got to pedal that bike.
Right.
Because I got to prove to them what I do.
Okay, I'm going to change your mind just as mine was changed. Yes, there's an element in me that, you know, I want to make this audience, I want them to realize what I've gone through. But when I was doing Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, my director, the late Stephen Pimlott, great Shakespearean director, okay? He directed this thing. And he said, talk to me about, first day of rehearsal, talk to me about your perspective as an entertainer. What do you do? I said, well, you know, I grew up to say that, you know, you guys bought tickets. It's my responsibility to make you happy, to entertain you. He looked at me and he just, no, that is completely wrong. I said, what do you mean? He said, it's backwards, Donny. They bought a ticket to peek into your world, and you're having the time of your life on stage. That's what I do on stage every night. Yes, I might see this guy. 3 nights ago, there was a guy who was a Deadhead, Grateful Deadhead fan, looked just like Garcia, right? And he was just like, I don't want to be here. And he was the first one to stand up at the end. So that invigorates me. That's fun for me. That's kind of like a little game I play. But that's not the reason I'm on stage anymore. I go on stage when that curtain opens up. I have a party in my world with my dancers and my band, with my music and my lights. You get to see it.
Right.
You get to peek into it.
Right.
That's my perspective of show business now.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's trying to entertain them versus
It's
letting
not
them
going to work.
It
You might feel good if he turns around, if it's my job. I got him. And then you walk off stage saying, I worked my butt off for that one person.
Right.
Versus saying, I just had a 90-minute party of enjoying my music and my show, showing my whole life, 6 decades to the people who have come to peek into this world.
The Jordan Harbinger Show, a different kind of sponsor for this episode, the Jordan Harbinger Show. Well, if you're a fan of fascinating podcasts and interesting people, you should definitely check this one out. There's an episode for everyone, no matter what you're into. Jordan talks with Scott Adams about persuasion in a world where facts don't matter anymore. Man, is he right. Or you go inside the dark world of wildlife trafficking. You'll always find something useful to apply to your own life, like routine changes to boost productivity or slight mindset tweaks to change how you see the world. Jordan's a good guy. We've had him on many times. I know the man well, and he's worth a listen. We enjoy the show, and we know you will too. So you can search The Jordan Harbinger Show, that is HARB as in boy, IN as in Nancy, GER, on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Hey, it's Adam Carolla. Is your vehicle no longer stopping like it used to? Or does it squeal, shake, or grind when you brake? Don't miss spring brake deals at O'Reilly Auto Parts now through April 25th. You can get 15% off when you buy a set of Brake Best Select or Import Direct brake pads and 2 rotors. Brake Best Select and Import Direct brake pads are engineered for all driving conditions to restore and improve braking performance. With application-specific friction formulas, noise-canceling shims, and low-dust operation. Trust Brake Best and Import Direct to deliver better braking. Don't take a chance on your next brake repair. The professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find the brake parts and supplies you need to do the job right the first time. Stop by your local O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit online, O'ReillyAuto.com.
I just had a flash go through my head, which is talking about all the performing, and it made me think, didn't you have an anxiety issue
I did.
at some point that kind of hobbled you for a bit of time? Or
This is
what
a
was that situation?
Perfect transition, Adam, to what I just said. It was during Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
That's what jogged my memory.
Trying to incorporate this philosophy that Stephen Pimlott told me. So wear my shoes for a second, okay? I was a huge teeny bopper. I was selling out arenas and things like that. And then all of a sudden, my career disappeared. I could barely half fill high school gymnasiums.
At what year, how old were you when
I was in the
happened?
80s. I was in my 20s.
You're in your 20s.
Yeah.
So your entire teens were teenage heartthrobs
Yeah.
selling out huge venues.
It's gone.
Now it's gone.
So make sure you edit right here. I lost my train of thought.
Anxiety.
Oh, anxiety. Okay. So I'm in Minneapolis, all right? And it's standing room only.
What year is this?
This is 93, 94.
And you're doing Joseph.
Doing Joseph. Something around that, in the early 90s. And I better do a perfect performance here tonight because everybody bought these tickets, standing room only. If I don't give a perfect performance, I'm going to lose my career again. And I know what it feels like, and it's not good. So it drove me into this social anxiety disorder and stage fright that if I don't give a perfect performance, I'm going to lose it. And it took me a lot of time, a lot of therapy, a lot of work to get that out of me. My wife gave me the best advice ever. It was in Minneapolis. 30 minutes of showtime, I start shaking. 15 minutes of showtime, my hands are just clammy, and I start throwing things in my dress. I can't go on stage. Call the understudy. My wife walks up to me, and she says, why don't you do yourself a favor and do everyone out in that audience a favor and just go out and do an average show tonight? Best show I ever did.
Really?
I gave myself license to make a mistake and be human. This happened to me just last week. I do a tribute to Andy Williams, and I wanted to do a duet with him. So I found a footage of him, and I got permission from his estate, from Bobby Williams, his son. Andy sings, Moon River, wider than a mile, but I started out, and I sang, Moon River, and I cracked the note. It was horrible.
On stage?
On
at
stage.
your show.
And everybody's like, I stopped the show. And I walk up to the front of the stage and said, ladies and gentlemen, you came here to hear a good show, see a good show, and I ended up cracking a note. We're going to start the song over again. And I started over again. I said, Moon River, wider than a mile. I did it! And the audience went crazy, and it was fine because I acknowledged my mistake, and it was okay. And I learned that the hard way.
I know once in a while I screw a joke up by putting something, the punchline, whatever.
Oh, I do that all the time.
And if you say, oh, I screwed that one up, the audience just laughs.
Just let it go.
Just let it go.
You're human.
It's you who are putting the undue pressure on yourself.
That's right.
Here's a weird question. You're Mormon, right?
Yep.
you worked with a therapist
Yep.
to deal with the anxiety.
Yep.
Is there anything with Mormons and therapy that I don't know about? Or is that just kosher?
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the most stupid question I've ever heard in my
I'm
life.
sorry.
That is going to go down in the annals of history of being a dumb question.
Do
you have another
Mormons
dumb question
see a lot
for me,
of
Ed?
therapists? I don't know. I'm an atheist. I don't know anything. But it's not frowned upon or looked down upon or anything like that.
No, get help. We have so many mental health issues. Just get help.
I
There's
agree.
so much help out there. I disclosed it in my autobiography, and I thought, I'm really making a mistake. And then I realized, no, this is so cathartic to be able to just say, this is me. This is the real person. I had a problem of social anxiety disorder, of panic attack on stage. And it helped me so much just to get it off my shoulders and see some therapists.
It seems incomprehensible that you would grow up on stage and then at age 27 it kicks in.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because like if you take a young kid and he grows up on a swamp in Florida and at age 3 he's wrestling with alligators, he doesn't have a fear of alligators when he's 28 and a half. It's just, here's what I grew up with. Here's what I understand. Yeah, you would be scared of this, but I'm not. This is how I grew up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But the stage is different somehow. And it must have just been.
No, it all goes back to what I was saying earlier. I lost my career. My name is a joke. All this kind of stuff. That's what threw me into panic because I've got to prove myself. And then I realized later on in my life, don't prove anything. In fact, I have embraced, I look at a lot of former teen idols, and I predict that even someday Justin Bieber will sing, baby, baby, oh, my baby, on stage one of these days. Maybe slightly different. But like I was saying earlier, I do puppy love in the show. I acknowledge all my old albums, and I sing. Somebody had me sing a song I hardly remember recording, and it was not the greatest song in the world. I did it last night. And I have fun with it. I just enjoy it. Because I embrace it, it's easier for the audience to embrace it because I've moved on. I don't put it down. I've embraced it. And because the songs that I used to put down, they probably meant a lot to somebody out there in the audience. Why would I put it down?
What is your regimen? I mean, you're in great shape. Obviously, you're clean living, but do you do, saunas and cold dunks? Are you vegan? Are you still with the therapist? Do you meditate?
I'm a Mormon.
You're allowed to see a therapist?
Yeah. My regimen, I'm a vegan.
Oh, are you?
No, I'm actually Chigan. I cheat.
Oh.
It's moderation in all things.
Yeah.
I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke, anything like that. But and that's just kind of, natural health things to stay away from. But no, it's just live your life as best you can. The show itself is my workout. I mean, if you saw the amount of dancing I've got. When you win Dancing with the Stars, people expect, okay, you better dance tonight. There's a lot of dancing. I have 8 of the greatest dancers. I hand-selected these. I put the show together during COVID, so nobody was performing. I had the pick of the litter. I mean, it was just, I needed 8 dancers. 200 people show up to this audition. And I narrowed it down to these 8 people. They were all so good. And the band is rumored to be the best band in Vegas, and I think it's more than rumored. They are amazing.
How many piece is the
It's
band?
5 pieces.
And so it's drums, bass, guitar, rock and roll.
Sax, yeah. And the lighting. Oh, my goodness. We won the award for Best Production, and I couldn't believe it when I got that award because you think of the amount of shows here in Vegas.
Yeah.
And my show gets Best Production Award. It's kind of cool.
I'm going to go back to Andy Williams and just check you of a good friend of mine who's passed away, who was known as Philip Welford. Philip the Juggler used to open for Andy Williams.
Okay.
And I didn't know. It is theater in Branson for a long time where I think
My brother Jimmy owned that theater for a while.
took over
Yeah.
that theater at some point. So I didn't know if you've ever crossed paths
No.
with my old friend. So your family, you have how many all totals? There 5, 6?
Oh, there's 9 children.
There's 9 children.
Yeah.
And how's the relationship with everybody?
It's awesome. We have a family thread every day, something to one of the
So you're
siblings.
texting every day?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's got to be your
In
faith.
fact, my brother Alan's coming to the show tonight.
Because everyone I know hates their family.
Yeah. Oh, there's, obviously there's family dynamics that take place, but I don't know, my mom and dad, they did something right because they really walked the walk and talked the talk. I never heard my dad yell at my mom. I never heard a swear word come out of my dad's mouth. Now, I'm sure he had his moments. He was an Army sergeant. He's very strict, but the respect that he showed my mom, every moment that I saw them together was such a great example for me. And I try to emulate that. My wife and I have been married. We celebrated 45 years on Monday.
Man. Wow.
And we got 97 grandkids now.
97 grandkids. So you got to get to 100 grandkids.
Yes.
And you got to get to 70 albums. The way I'm
14.
looking at
The
it.
14th's coming in on July 1st.
The 14th
14th grandbaby.
Grandbaby. Oh, well, when I did 97, I thought it was the entire Osmond clan.
Oh. Turn your hearing aid up.
Yeah. Well, there is 90s.
No, I'm kidding you, Adam.
Well, if you have
14
9 brothers,
grandchildren.
if you
Don't take what I say literally, dude.
Look, I'll do the math. All you got to do is have all 9 siblings have 11 and a half kids.
Well, that's probably, yeah, you know what? Yeah.
You
should
do the
change our name.
math.
Change our name from Osmond to Rabbit,
Who was, your dad's a drill sergeant, a former drill sergeant.
Yes.
Where does this, and you guys are in Utah, right?
Well, actually, Debbie and I live in Vegas now.
Well, I know, but
We have a home in Utah.
As a child.
Yeah. Well, no, I grew up in L.A., actually, in San Fernando Valley.
Oh, did we talk about that?
Yeah, just, that's where I moved from Utah when I was 3, when the show business thing kicked in.
Okay.
And then...
Where'd you move to in the valley?
it's not the greatest of areas right now. It's Arleta. Where Nordhoff and Osborne
Yes. Yeah.
no, Nordhoff and Van Nuys. Van Nuys and Nordhoff. That's right
Yes.
where I grew up.
If you would like to purchase a semi-stolen catalytic converter,
oh, yes, yeah.
that's probably the corner to go to.
I just read in the news yesterday, cops discovered someone with like 600 catalytic converters or something like that.
Yes, one of them is probably mine.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but the valley back in the day,
It's a great place to live.
the valley was just like orchards and ranch houses and like kids being
I
kids.
had the greatest backyard, walnut trees, pomegranate trees, peach, apricot.
Yeah,
It was amazing.
it was an orchard.
Yeah.
You could literally, during the summer, because I would leave the house. I grew up in North Hollywood.
Yeah.
But I would leave the house during the summer with no money, because then no one had any money, and just ride my bicycle and then stop at some point and find an apricot tree.
Right.
And then stop and find a peach tree. And
Don't do that today.
You get
You get
shot.
arrested. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't even know if the trees are out there, but it was one big, fat orchard with just open space everywhere. So you got there when you were 3.
Yeah.
And you stayed there until
We moved to Santa Monica when
really?
when the Donny Marie show was kicking in, and then my wife and I decided to move down to Irvine. That's where
Right.
we raised a lot of our children. But yeah, California was. But I love Utah. I love the mountains. I love the atmosphere.
But how
people.
did show business come around? What I was originally saying is your dad's a drill sergeant, former drill sergeant. He's in Utah.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't feel like show business to me. Drill
you'd be
sergeant
surprised.
in Utah.
You'd be surprised how much talent comes out of Utah.
Oh, that's right.
We talked about Dancing with the Stars. A lot of those professional dancers come from Utah.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, a lot of them. But no, you're right. Back in the day, it's like, how did you get into show business? It was. I'll condense this. It's kind of a fun story, but my dad was a choral singer, nothing professional, but they'd be singing in the car, and they took a trip down to see Lawrence Welk to get on his television show. Lawrence wouldn't see them. So my father, being the great father he was, he said, let's make a vacation out of this. This is before I joined the group, so I'm not even there. It's the four brothers.
Oh, so your dad is taking your older brothers to sort of audition for Lawrence Welk?
Yes, exactly.
Where's Lawrence Welk?
L.A.
Okay.
Okay. So he said, okay, that just blew up in our face. Let's go have a little vacation at Disneyland. So they're all dressed alike. They look like a little barbershop quartet. Dapper Dans on the streets of Disneyland. See them and say, are you guys a quartet? And say, well, we sing songs sometimes. Sing us a song. So they sang the Dapper Dans song, blew them away. So the Dapper Dans sang my brother's song. Went back and forth. All these people start to gather around like it's an attraction.
This is in the 60s?
It's 62-ish.
Yeah.
And 61 maybe.
And they showed up in their outfits.
No, they're all dressed alike because we didn't have much money. So Mother she went and got all this material and made everybody the same outfit.
Sewed everything the same.
Right, it was cheaper. And so eventually Walt Disney heard them and said, I got to put you on television. And that's where Andy Williams' father saw them and invited them to come on the Andy Williams show. That went crazy. Andy had me come on. That went really well. I'm now part of the group. That's how it all began. So Disney was really the impetus to get us started into show business.
So go down to Hollywood, drive down.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And Lawrence Welk turns his nose up, but you guys...
Which, is a blessing in disguise.
Yes. Well,
because
many things turn out to be blessings.
Because think about, the Osmond brothers, not that I'm putting the show down, okay? I shouldn't do that because it was great for the time for a certain genre of people. But if the Osmond brothers were a regular on the Lawrence Welk show, probably would have been the end.
Or maybe not the beginning.
Maybe not the beginning.
Right, because it was a little older.
But Andy gave us an opportunity. I talk about this in my show. To expand, he kept pushing us to say, okay, do something bigger and better next week. And not just in singing, but dancing as well. We do these big production numbers. Talk about a learning experience for me. School of Hard Knocks.
What are you, 6 at this point?
Yeah, 6, 7 years old when I joined officially.
How was working with your sister? I mean, I could imagine working with my sister, and I don't know how that would work, but I used to watch Donny Marie religiously.
Did you really?
Oh
my
yeah.
God, that's fun. That's cool. Do you know who else
loved
told me
all
the
that
same
stuff.
thing? Eminem.
Really?
He said, I went and it was after the Brit Awards over in the UK, and I said, I got to meet him. So I walk up to his tent, and this huge guard said, what do you want? I said, I'm Donny Osmond. I want to meet Marshall. Wait here. He walks in, and a minute later, he walks out with the funniest look on his face. He's like, he wants to meet you. I said, thank you. The door opens up. You know those commercials where these two people are running in slow motion in a field of wheat?
Yes.
Okay, and they finally get to it. That was the moment.
Love is
Marshall
found.
and I were running towards each other. He grabs me, and he says the same thing. Dude, I used to watch the Donny and Marie show religiously when I was a kid. You influenced me a lot as a kid. And I said, oh, it's my fault.
I loved it. I watch every week. And it was, I mean, there were also
it was silly.
many variety shows.
It was silly,
back then.
absolutely.
That was the point, though, for me. But I don't know what it was like working with that kind of pressure and that kind of schedule with a sibling. That would seem like it would cause some friction.
There were some times of friction, but in hindsight, and I look at the 11-year run. We're supposed to be at the Flamingo for 6 weeks. Turned out to be 11 years. And I look back in retrospect and say, how did we do it? Adam, Donny and Marie, I talk about Donny in the third person. Donny and Marie had such a rapport on stage. There were incidents, and it's bound to happen over 11 years, where there's a failure, whether it be technical, whatever it might be. We would look at each other and know exactly what we're going to do and knew exactly how to get out of the situation. And I miss working with Marie, but she's moved on to her things. I've got my things going on. But they were great times working together. Yes, we butt heads all the time because we're both producers. But we had the ability, and I credit my parents for this one. We had the ability to work it out before the curtain opened up. I shouldn't disclose this, but I'm going to.
Please.
I've talked about it a couple times in the past. I'm sorry, Marie, if this offends you. But there was one night. It was bad. Let's put it that way.
This is during the live show?
During the live show, because we couldn't see eye to eye on making a certain change. And it wasn't a Donny and Marie moment that you would normally think. I mean, we were just like really at each other. And 5 minutes to showtime, right? She's not ready. I'm not ready. We're not going on. The place is packed. And show started 10 minutes late. And I remember this moment. We both walk out of our dressing rooms and hug each other. Tears, say, we're better than this. Best show we ever did.
And you both arrived at that at the sort of the same time. It wasn't
same time.
one trying to talk the other into
exactly the same time.
That hug. That's really interesting.
Best show we ever did.
Here's a weird question. Are Mormons allowed to drink? No. Soda? No. Who is the most talented of the Osmonds? Now, you can say you.
Don't take me there. No.
You can say you, or you can say Marie, but I keep thinking like...
That's an unfair question,
Jimmy, yeah, but you might say, oh, my brother Jimmy, that guy arranges, scores, plays 5 instruments.
Ain't gonna answer this one.
Pretends to play the trumpet.
Yeah. I don't know. I look back at some of those clips and oh man, what was he thinking?
What was he thinking? 7 years old playing that trumpet.
Yeah,
that was on Flight of the Bumblebee. I remember that.
That was that 70s.
Right?
That was the 70s variety shows. It was like smoke and mirrors.
All right, you won't answer that question.
I'm not going to answer it because I respect them too much.
All right, but. Well, listen, you could ask me who's more talented, me or my sister Lauren. I'll just go me.
Of course, yeah.
I'm being honest. But now I'm thinking about it. Hollywood, 70s, West Side, Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, all that. The drugs, the cocaine, the booze, the debauchery that must have been flowing through. I mean, there was nothing worse in that window in the later 70s in terms of just pure debauchery.
Yeah.
How did you guys sort of navigate that?
Again, I got to look at my parents. Yes, we were isolated a lot from a lot of that stuff. And was I ever tempted? No. I never
tempted.
Never tempted because I saw what it did to other people. I grew up fast as a little kid. A lot of people think that I'm so naive and all this cute little, LDS Mormon kid. So naive, so innocent. No, my eyes were opened up really early in life. And I consciously made decisions to stay away from that based upon not just what I saw, but what my parents taught me. And yes, they isolated me to a certain extent, but come on, Adam. Everyone's an island. They have their own life to administer and to take care of. And you can indulge in anything you want, especially nowadays. You got to make a decision for yourself. Is it going to hurt me? Is it really going to benefit me? And you got to decide. And not be a puppet to anybody. Again, I'm going to blame social media. I love social media. Can you imagine what I could have done with that back in the puppy love days? But to become a puppet and just follow people, and we talked about this earlier on about being with the cool people. No. What's cool for you as an individual? You got to make that decision and not just be a sheep and follow people and say, okay, who do I listen to? Whose voice is influencing me? Is it somebody I really look up to? And if I look up to him, is it because other people look up to him? Or do I really honestly look up to that person? You got to make those decisions in life. Otherwise, you're going to be a puppet.
Well, what I've been kind of saying is we have this kind of philosophy that, the government's got to regulate the internet, the government's got to regulate, the drugs, and the government's got to get involved with the schools and how much, and vaping and cigarettes and caffeine and alcohol.
Who's doing the regulating?
Well, my whole point is you better learn to regulate yourself. There's
There you
no way. Look, you got a smartphone.
Right.
There's all kinds of horribleness on that device that's in your hand.
Or there's all kinds of greatness.
Or there's all kinds of
It's
greatness.
what you select.
Right,
Not
but
nobody's selecting it for you.
The reason I always push back on when the government says we got to regulate this or we got to regulate that is you're taking
Don't get me
the
started.
responsibility from the individual. There'll never be enough government and there'll never be enough regulation and it'll never be enforceable enough to stop whatever it is we're trying to stop. But if you do it within, then we don't need the regulation, we don't need the troops, and we don't need the government.
Do you know where I have a problem? And I don't know, I don't have a good answer for this. I'm still trying to figure it out. If you don't regulate something, then everything is there, and you're bombarded with everyone's opinion. Yes, ultimately it gets back to my choice. But if I'm bombarded with AI advertising or whatever it might be, and it looks appealing, do I go down there? And am I caught? You know, does the snare grab me? I don't have an answer for that, other than the fact you better teach correct principles to your children and let them govern themselves.
Well, that's it. You could go around and say, don't do drugs, don't do this, don't, be faithful to your wife or your girlfriend, don't do that. Or you could just teach them character, and the character would be the hub, and the spokes would be all directions. But once you give them character,
There's your foundation, right?
yeah, you don't have to go, don't cheat your business partner, and don't do drugs, and don't cheat on
But
your
that
wife.
doesn't preclude them going down one of these spokes. But if you
doesn't.
have that hub that you call, or that foundation that I call, if you go down that spoke and you get hurt, you know where your foundation is.
So here's
But that comes from training
Yeah.
a child,
Well,
teaching them correct principles.
I completely agree. And, religion is on the wane and it's waning. And
Yeah.
so the question is, do you think you could do this without your religion? Do you think your parents could have done it? Do you think you could have done it? How do you think you would have turned out minus that? And can you do it as a society without that?
Well, my answer to you is going to be a little bit biased because I don't have another side to compare it to. But if I were to give you an answer, I'd say no, I couldn't do it because my hub, as you call it, was my faith and my parents who taught me these principles. So, no, I don't think I could have done it without it. Even though, by and large, we have statistically religion is waning. I see it the other way. I see it. Yes, there's going to be a lot of bad stuff happen out there. Even with AI, all this stuff, all these warnings. We experience the same thing that AI is doing to us now when computers came into music. Everybody said, "Oh no, it's going to kill music," and it really did kill a lot of music. But look at the creativity that it infused in the music industry.
Right.
There's a lot of garbage, but there was a lot of garbage back in the 70s too. So we adapt. We learn to adapt. And that's what we need to do is teach those correct principles so you can adapt properly to all of these terrible things. Warning, warning, warning. There's some great stuff out there too. I can hardly wait for AI to really flourish because I've got ideas of what I want to do with it as an artist.
Well, I guess it's going to create the ability to do a lot of those duets a la Andy Williams that previously, I mean, it's certainly been done. You just did it, but it's going to open up a
Here's
world.
the difference. You got your fake Drakes and all that Bad Bunny stuff, right? That's why I love doing it live. There's no cheating.
No.
There's no cheating. Yes, Andy's on the screen, but I'm singing with him. I'm live. That's why you're never going to be able to get rid of live performances. You can watch all the wonderful AI videos to entertain you that you want to do, but now let's go see a live performance and see the real thing. And I think there's going to be a backlash to the fake Drakes and all that kind of stuff. When people want to say to themselves, what's real? And I think, I'm going out on a limb here, Adam. I think it's going to get so fake and that everybody's going to get fed up with fakeness. Yes, there's a part of my life that loves to be entertained and watch Guardians of the Galaxy and stuff like that, which I just saw. It's an unbelievable movie. It's great. Now let's go see something real. And I do think, honestly, someday, I don't know how many years away, it's all going to reverse because it's all cyclical. And they're
Yeah.
going to get back to family. They're going to realize how important it is to teach your children and love them. And the personal contact. Yes, I've got my social media. I'm contacting with somebody in some place in the world that I don't even know exists. But now let's have a real conversation between you and me.
I think it'll take the same trajectory as fake boobs, which is when they first came on the scene, everyone's like, oh my God, this is the greatest technology in the world. Now they're kind of shunned.
It's an interesting analogy. I think I'll agree with you on
Talk to your
that.
Mormon therapist about it.
I think
See
I
what he
will,
thinks.
yes, yeah.
All right, let me give you a plug, Donny, because you've been very generous with your time here. Donny.com.
Donny.com.
He's coming to a town near you.
Yeah.
Launching in July.
I'm bringing Vegas to everybody.
And in the good part of Vegas
Yes.
to everybody.
Yes.
Donny, always great to
Always fun to talk to you, man.
and get caught up. And I guess I'm trying to think. Well, you'll be in L.A. with your show at some point.
I think I'm just performing in
Or near
some
LA.
of the Caesars properties near LA.
Yes, I will. I would love to come out.
You got to see
be
the show.
wowed by
You'll
it.
see what I'm talking about once you see it.
I shall.
Yeah.
Although I don't think my respect level could get any higher for you, but
whatever.
it might even go up a little bit more.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. The great Donny Osmond. I think we'll do a little bit of news, and we'll be back right after this.
Let me tell you about Angie. Angie's List is now Angie, and they've made it easier than ever to get all your home projects done right. I use Angie. Yep, what? You, Adam, you can do most everything Angie can do. True, but I'm busy, and I travel, and I have a schedule. So I'll let Angie do a lot of the stuff I don't have time to do or it doesn't make sense to do. 20 plus years of home service experience, and they're combined with the new tools to simplify the entire process. So make it easy. On the Angie app, just answer a few questions. They'll handle the rest. See ratings and reviews, compare quotes from local pros, and connect instantly. Cross items off the to-do list in just a few taps. Whether it's routine maintenance or a dream remod, well, Angie makes it easy. Right, Dawson?
Get your next project done right with the help of a pro from Angie. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
Apartments.com helped millions of renters find their perfect places, and they're all different because none of us are the same. So why should our homes be? Apartments.com has the right tools to help you find the place that's uniquely perfect for you. Sort through and filter listings by amenities, and don't miss out on their instant alert option. With over 1 million available units for rent, you'll find the place that's right for you. Whether you're looking for a place with a basement, a yard, or a pool, apartments.com. That's apartments.com, the place to find a place.
All right. Well, that was the great Donny Osmond. What a pro. What a mensch. All right, so Kimbles here now, and we're going to get into some news as promised. So what do you got, Kimbles?
All right, so this is crazy. A woman went nuts and she started stabbing her husband when she found pictures on his phone of him having sex with someone. The kicker is the person that he was having sex with
Was her.
I
knew it.
From like 15 years ago, back when she was hot.
Wow. She should have stabbed herself when she reached for that double cheeseburger.
I mean, how different can he have looked, right?
I look, I don't want to offend you because you are a woman, but women are going nuts. And I have this theory, and it's been proven time and time again. Guys get older and they mellow out. Mm-hmm. Guys are nuts when they're 26. When they're 46, they mellow out.
Yeah.
Every douche. Look, go to your high school reunion. The biggest douchebags in your high school, if you go to your 30-year reunion and they're now all 48 years old, you'll go, God, I hated that guy in high school. He's so sweet now. He's got a little bald spot.
Yeah.
He's got a little gut on him. He's talking about one of his kids with autism. And you guys are having the greatest time ever. Women get nasty and angry and crazy as they get older. And I don't know biologically how we're supposed to reconcile this. I see more women fighting now. I see more women screaming. I see more women stabbing.
Well, you've got the hormone imbalance, obviously, that comes in later, but I think it's more to do with finding the right person, right? So I like to think, like, I'm married now, and my husband brings out this kind of super calm version of me. But boyfriends I had before him, back when I was 25, I used to have long blonde hair down to my waist. We went out drinking one night, and I wasn't getting the attention I wanted from this guy. So I went bunny boiler into the kitchen. We got home with scissors, cut my hair, chin length.
Wow.
What, like nutty. And I'm not that person anymore. I haven't been for 15 years. So I do think it's something to do with like your husband knows like the wrong men know how to twist that button, you know, and just make you psycho. I think there's something I'm just saying it takes two to tango, Adam.
I think you're doing a lot of externalizing here. Women are going nuts and they're getting violent. And here's a theory that I have, and I vetted it with Dr. Drew. There used to be a lot of talk historically in this country and many others as well, where we'd go, that's not very ladylike. A lady would never blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of rules for being a lady. And then we decided at some point in the 60s, there should be no rules. And we should do what we want as ladies. But I wonder if all those adages from the past, like all those, that's not ladylike, or young lady would never raise her voice or whatever. I wonder if they knew something back then and they were trying to control it.
Yeah.
And then we went, no, we're going to let it go. I'm saying this. Men are told that they need to control their impulses and their instincts. And our instinct is to fight and to rape and to do all kinds of horrible things as a male. And we're told, take it down. Like, there are the things you want to do, maybe the things you're hardwired to do. No, you can't do that. I think we need to start implementing some of those rules with women too, which is this is what you're thinking you want to do.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We tell women, go out and do whatever you want. We'll celebrate you. Guys, tamp it down. I think we need to tell everyone to tamp it down now.
I also feel like there might be a tendency of, there's something now I'm seeing with more domestic abuse situations happening with women on men.
Yes.
And I feel as if the power shift there has happened a little bit, and we almost have this slight invincibility feeling right now.
Yes. We've been telling guys
which is dangerous
to
as well.
check
Equality is
themselves
equality.
for a long time now, and we've been sort of empowering women while we're sort of telling guys to dial it down. And this is a logical offshoot.
Now we're coming in bitch slapping everyone.
That's right. I see more women, at least videos, whether it's airplanes or out front of restaurants or bars.
Yeah.
I now see more women physically fighting each other than
we're basing this on BuzzFeed, but yes.
I would never see women fight when I was a kid. It was only men. It was a crazy novelty. All right, sorry. What else you got?
Okay. So UCSB students, obviously University of Santa Barbara, it's a very expensive college. They were in for a treat when the university brought in a special academic speaker, none other than legendary porn star Angela White. I don't know if you're familiar.
Man, I am feeling old about now because legendary porn star means she's from the 90s or the 2002 or something.
She was there talking about her life career, and she's only 37, which I guess is a pretty impressive
career. You can't be a legend in the porn industry. You have to see your 40th birthday.
Wow. She was there to lecture as part of their groundbreaking film studies course. More hymen breaking, I think. But
yes. This is part of the problem I'm talking about. Like, usually porn stars are victims of molestation that are acting out in some sort of sanctioned thing, and now we must celebrate them as artists.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. She's dubbed the Meryl Streep of porn, which is about as high a compliment as you can get, I think.
Unless you're Meryl Streep, in which case it's a little bit of a backhand.
We need to do a remake, I guess. The Devil Wears a Strap-On. What would be there?
I like that movie.
Could be some good ones there.
I mean, The Devil Wears Prada.
Julie, Julia, and Juliet. a threesome. I don't know. There'd be a lot of good ones.
I don't know that we need. I mean, so this is kind of what I'm talking about. It's part and parcel of what I was just saying, which is there's porn, fine. Hope your daughter doesn't get into it. But do we need to celebrate it is what I'm saying. And that's part of what we're doing here. Like, she doesn't need to be celebrated or speak to people to empower people. Call me old fashioned. Maybe it's fresh off my Donny Osmond conversation.
Right.
But I just feel like not everything needs to be celebrated.
Yeah.
It can be, we don't need to judge you. We just don't need to celebrate you.
Yes, I see that.
This is the thing. I feel the same way with like drag queens. You know what I mean? It's like, you get to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I don't care. But stop asking me to celebrate you with your cock and balls tucked between your legs and your huge wig on. I'm not celebrating you. I just don't care if you do what you want to do, which makes you angry because you want to be celebrated, even though you never say you want to be celebrated. You say you want to be left alone to do whatever you want to do. And then when we leave you alone to do whatever you want to do, but we don't celebrate you, then you get angry.
Yeah.
That's the time.
But I think she also is looking to be celebrated as a businesswoman and a career, which is great, but also maybe the wrong career to have gone into if you wanted to be celebrated later down the road. I did like her quote though. It just made me laugh the way she worded it. This is my third time as a guest speaker as a film studies class that approaches pornography as worthy of a serious inquiry as a genre and as popular culture. I love that she didn't say it's worthy as a genre. It's just worthy as a serious inquiry as a genre. Like, it's kind of a genre.
Can I say, any form of media and any form of art that involves capturing it on film where you intentionally turn the sound down is not a serious form of art. No one's ever watched, she's the Meryl Streep of porn, but no one watches Meryl Streep movies and goes, turn the sound down. I don't want my roommate to know what I'm doing
I'd say the same about Instagram Reels. I hate watching them with the sound up. I'll just scroll through.
Yeah.
So you're right. You turn the sound down, you look at whatever you're looking at.
It's not really an art form.
Yes. Okay, is Sin City closing in on Tinseltown? Nevada is trying to diversify the gaming and tourism-reliant economy, which was obviously hit very hard by the pandemic. So a group of lawmakers have introduced a bill that would give massive tax credits aimed at bringing film production to Southern Nevada. Plans would include a $1 billion Sony expansion. So is Vegas the new Hollywood?
Well, we should go ask Mark Wahlberg because I think he's got it figured out. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense to me that if you work in LA as an actor, as a production, Hollywood, then they've driven out many businesses and they have to go to Atlanta or they have to go. I mean, I drove Bryan Cranston to the airport so that he could go to New Mexico to shoot Breaking Bad. Most of the actors hate it. I would hate it too. I would hate to say you got to leave your house and they got you an Airbnb outside of Georgia and you just live there for 5 months alone.
Right.
It would be uncomfortable. Or New Mexico. And, and what happens is the cities end up getting some arteries and veins and becoming more lively because of all of it. But you're going to New Mexico. I mean, I'm driving Bryan Cranston to the Burbank Airport, take a Southwest flight to New Mexico. That's 13 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just going to New Mexico. There's nothing there, He doesn't want to go there. He would like to stay in his home in L.A. He has a comfortable home in the San Fernando Valley with his wife and his family and everything.
Kids,
But you got to go to New Mexico. You got to go to Prague. You got to go to Georgia. Well, people don't want to do that, but L.A. is so greedy and California is so greedy that they tax everybody and then they overregulate and then the people in Hollywood go somewhere else. They force them out.
Yeah.
Just like now they're kind of forcing out just citizens, people that make a good living, people that have a business, whomever, Scott Baio. They're forcing them all out. But fine. But if you can go to Nevada and you can catch a Jet Suite X flight back and forth, or you can sleep in the back of a town car or a Denali for the 4-hour drive, late at night or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You can sleep in your own bed a little bit and do a series. Now, I'm not saying you're going back and forth, every day of the week, but I'm saying you're within striking distance of where your house is in Beverly Hills.
Right.
And you hop on that Jet Suite X flight at 6:30 at night. You're back in your house at 8 o'clock. It's pretty doable now. So it would make sense that they come here.
But all the power's in the talent's hands, right? I would love to see. It would be hilarious if you forced all the talent to move to Vegas and say, "Sorry, guys, this is where you have to live now with your families. You're stuck with 110-degree summers."
Well, also these guys,
power.
when you're making $10 million a year or $25 million a year or $50 million a year, and you're at the upper bracket of state tax in California, you're paying 13.4% just to live in California. So you take Mark Wahlberg, and Mark Wahlberg's bringing in $50 million a year. He's got, $7 million just to give to Gavin Newsom to fucking squander every year. I mean, that's a chunk.
Sure is.
For walking out and tripping over homeless people and being overregulated, not being able to do your business in LA. So there's some, again, these guys don't make $3 million a year. They make $30 million a year, and 10%, and this ain't 10%, it's 13 plus percent of that year in and year out. I mean, Mark Wahlberg has probably paid $100 million to the state of California. Forget about federal, just state.
Yeah.
He's probably put in easily $100 million, and he can't film a movie in his home state.
Insane, right?
So why the fuck wouldn't he move?
Yeah. Just would it be Nevada?
It would be, because
you got A+ for trying, Nevada. I mean,
they're going to. But here's the thing. They're just going to build up so much infrastructure, so much air conditioning, and so much.
They're killing it right now. We were talking about F1 coming, the baseball,
Yes.
I mean,
they're smart.
Killing it. They know what they're doing. You also get I feel like you always hear this every year. There's a new state that wants to bring Hollywood. Obviously during COVID, they were trying to move. They were saying comedy's finished in New York. Austin's the new town of New York, and it's back and killing it in New York again now. So I always feel like you hear these stories, and Hollywood's meant to be in LA. It always will. Will it get shared around a bit? Maybe.
No, a lot. But then LA has course corrected a little bit because they've seen too many. I think they call it flight. They call it production flight or something. There's way too many. Look, all you have to do is talk to people. Like, if I say to Joel McHale, "Hey, can you come and do my show at the Improv on Wednesday night?" He'll go, I'm in Atlanta for 7 weeks.
Yeah.
That means he's shooting a show in Atlanta. He's shooting a Hollywood TV show.
Yeah.
Atlanta's not close.
Notice he says, "I'm in Atlanta for 7 weeks" with that tone of voice.
Nobody from LA wants to go to Atlanta, but we have been forced to go to Atlanta because they over-regulate in LA.
Yeah. Okay, well, we'll see. So next, there's a YouTuber, a big one. He's now pleading guilty to a federal charge after he intentionally crashed his plane just for views on the tube. He then disposed of the wreckage to try and hinder investigation. Obviously, didn't get away with it. Apparently, it was all just to promote a wallet.
Did he crash it in a body of water?
I think it was up in the mountains in Santa Barbara.
That seems like a weird place to crash.
So he's a skydiver.
Oh, he jumped out of it.
So he jumped out of it.
Well, now
and he had a bunch of cameras attached to it.
All right. He intentionally crashed his plane with him not in it.
Yes. Yeah, well, otherwise
he ghost rode his plane.
Yes, there you go. With a bunch of cameras on it just to sell a wallet.
And because he was sponsored by some wallet company?
By some wallet company. But I assume
so it must have been like just a cheap sort of Cessna single wing, kind of
Yeah,
junker
yeah.
or whatever.
I've got the video, but I don't know if we can pull it up.
And he just jumped out of the plane, but then he's going to get into trouble because the plane could have hit a nursery
Exactly.
or a school
Yes.
or something.
Yes.
Right. But he did it in a remote area.
Uh-huh.
But then he had to get rid of the plane.
Yeah, I
But
think
he's in
it's the
Santa-
fact that he disposed of the wreckage, which hinders investigation.
He's in Santa Barbara. Shouldn't he have jumped out over the Pacific Ocean and let the plane hit the ocean and then sink to the bottom of the ocean?
You'd think, but how much cooler is a plane crash in the mountains than on the water?
Well,
If you've got enough cameras around, it looks pretty rad.
I don't know.
Right? Like Tom Cruise
water
vibes.
crashes are pretty cool too, but
Yeah.
yeah, all right. Maybe it's more dramatic
Yeah,
into the
yeah,
mountains
yeah.
of Santa Barbara. So now he's being charged.
Yeah, so now he's being charged. But I guess the bigger question is, what do you think about people doing things that are illegal for views? This is the bigger issue that we're facing.
Well, I mean, there's somebody snorting a line of cocaine,
Right.
which is illegal, but it's not going to hurt my kids if they're camping in the hills of Santa Barbara.
Right.
But if a plane lands on my kids who are camping in the hills
Yes.
of Santa Barbara, then that would affect
Yeah.
me. So my thing is sort of, if you're not, if you're filming yourself doing drugs and you're alone in your apartment, then you're filming yourself doing something illegal, but it doesn't bother me.
And you're also stupid, so serves you right.
But if you're filming yourself doing, donuts in an intersection and then smacking some kid with the rear end of your
Yeah.
car and
Yeah.
killing them, then that might affect other people.
Yeah.
So to me, it's very much, are you impacting people?
Right. That makes sense. Yeah. And at what point does it stop? I mean, you can just I dread to think the things that you think that people could be taking pictures of themselves doing in 10 years from now.
Well, I mean, you always get the selfie person who
Yes.
falls off the cliff.
Yeah. Yes. They're good, those ones, though.
I actually surprised that there's not more deaths from GoPro. Because when I was 14, if I had a GoPro, I would have hooked it up to the handlebars of my
Yeah.
bike and jumped off a roof into a swimming pool or a patio or something and
Yes.
missed. Like, I would have done all kinds of crazy
Yeah.
stuff if I knew it could be chronicled.
I bet there is. I bet there's more injuries and more deaths than we know. People just don't talk about it
yeah.
because they're so embarrassed that they jumped off a balcony into a pool and got freaking brain damage or a broken neck that they can't. That's the one video that I'm not going to post that. That's mortifying.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we'd see it if they were. But yes, if I had the ability to film myself when I was in high school, I would still be in prison right now because everything would have been illegal.
Yeah.
And it would have been horrible.
Oh, gosh.
I mean, thank God you're not leaving that video paper trail of yourself.
I know. I still think about it. Even so, my 7-year-old the other day walked in and he was like, "Mummy, can I film a TikTok with you?" Like I've never talked to him about TikTok. I don't do TikTok. I have no idea where he picked this up from, but the 7-year-olds are doing it. It's
Yeah.
insane.
It's also going to be weird that everyone is just going to be chronicled from birth to the grave.
I think we're going to see a big reset. I think people are going to start hiding. We'll see.
I'm probably.
I like to think. I'm proud
I think
of
a lot of people are going to be buried with like a GoPro coffin lid mount, just to
Yes.
keep an eye on them.
Yes. GoPro need a rebrand. Okay, so number 5, we've got drug-resistant ringworm has been detected in the US for the first time. Highly contagious. There's 2 cases, according to the Center of Disease Control, found in 2 patients in New York City. They didn't improve with treatments. I think first things first, we all need to mask up.
Oh yeah, the ringworm. Yeah, well, look, nature. I mean, it's invisible. A lot of nature's invisible, but it's the same as ivy, or the same as you see sometimes they'll tie a rope around a tree to try to pull it in one direction when it's like a sapling.
Right.
And then you come around 5 years later and the tree has grown over the rope. And now the rope is part of the tree. All nature wants to do is climb. like survive and move. You know what I mean? And it's kind of diabolical. Like even when COVID was coming around, people are like, well, now what COVID is doing is it's spreading out, but it's not as lethal because it doesn't want to kill its host. Because if it kills its host, it can't be spread. The idea that this is going on a molecular level.
Yeah.
Like nature's figured out, if I kill her, that's great, except for if I keep her alive, she'll go to a dinner party and spread me to her friends who don't really like her, by the way, or think she's funny.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's ringworm or herpes or whatever it is, right?
So drug companies come up with ways to kill it, and then the rat and the roach figures out a way to be immune to the poison, and it's a constant battle and a constant cycle.
Yes.
And I think...
How do you get ringworm?
My buddy Ray had ringworm on my bachelor party, and we shared the same bed. Or maybe he just said it so he could,
have you had ringworm?
Take over the bed. No, I never got it.
So it's not highly...
I think it is
It
high.
is, okay.
Well, I don't know where it ranks. Like, you know, head lice, crabs, herpes, venereal warts, ringworm. Like, where's that?
Right.
Where's that rank? It's contagious.
I just know it is rank. That's all I know.
It's in the rankings.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So it will fight off and eventually overcome whatever it is we've thrown at it, because that's what nature does. And then what people do is we then go back in the lab and come up with a new thing that is effective on it. And then nature goes back to work. And then 12 years from now, it beats the new thing, and then we have to go back to the lab.
Yes. Pretty rank. Not looking forward to that one. Let's hope that we can.
I don't think
put an X in
ringworm
that
is
one.
worms, though. It's just called
I know.
ringworm.
That's what's so disgusting about it. You're right. Like I envisage like drinking from the tequila bottle and the worm like going through your body, but it's just different to worms, right?
I don't think it's a worm.
No.
I just think it's a skin thing.
Yeah.
But it is contagious. But
Yeah.
I did share a bed with a dude who had it and didn't get it.
Yeah. That's our news stories, Adam.
Well, I will say that, and again, my buddy Ray, on my bachelor party, tell me what you think of this.
Yeah.
You can tell a lot about people by how they sleep.
Okay.
Now, when I share a bed with somebody, I sleep on the edge of the bed. I literally have like 1 foot hanging off of the bed.
Yeah.
'Cause I don't feel like I want to roll over and get into their territory. My buddy Ray would like sleep diagonally in the bed, like, but he wouldn't start off that way.
Yeah.
He would lay there in bed next to you, and as the night wore on, he would spread out and take up way more and more of your territory.
Was his head moving towards you or his feet
His
moving
whole
towards
it
you?
was you would find yourself in a corner in a fetal position. But what I'm saying is, and I'm asking you what your opinion is.
Yes.
Here. When you pass out, you're sort of, you know, people always go, when you're drunk, that's kind of your true shit coming out.
Yes.
Now we can hear the unvarnished version of you,
Yeah.
what you're really thinking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I never heard you bring up the Jews before,
Right.
but then you got drunk.
Oh, hell yeah.
And now I know how you feel about
Yes.
the Jews,
Yeah.
right? I say when you fall asleep, we really know who you are.
Yes. Okay.
And I've been with people that spread out.
Yes.
Like they start conquering your land,
Yeah.
taking over your territory. And then there's the ones that
So you're still
literally
fetal.
hang off the side of the bed because they're thoughtful people. You know what I
So
mean?
you're fetal even when you're passed out drunk.
No, when I'm passed out drunk, I am just on the side of the bed. Like I don't sleep in the middle of the bed.
Okay.
I'm just in a hotel room up here. It's a king size bed. I took up 18 inches of the edge of the bed. That's
Yes.
where I sleep. I'm comfortable that
Yeah.
way. But I'm just saying, when you start taking over, I think that speaks
Yes.
to something.
When I'm passed out drunk, I just don't even make it to the bed. I'm not sure what that says about me.
I'm not saying
you'll find
passed
me
out.
on the floor
I'm
by
not
the
saying
side of the bed.
passed out drunk. I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Yeah.
do you
passed out.
take territory when you're asleep?
No, absolutely not. We
Does
both.
your husband?
No.
Good. Then he's got a good man.
It's the dog that takes the damn
That's
territory.
a good point. I got a 110-pound lab. He
Yes.
starts laying diagonally or sideways across the bed
we have
and
a
stretching.
Tiny dog. We have a tiny dog. He takes up 3/4
They're
of the
selfish.
bed. And my
They're
husband and I have about
that's-
18 inches on each side,
that
as far
speaks
away as humanly possible.
To their mind.
And
All
we
right.
have to. I don't even like when my husband's looking at me in bed. I make him roll over the other way. I roll over looking the other way, so we're
Smart.
looking away from each other.
You don't want to breathe each other's air.
Yes, and then we've got the dog snoring in the middle.
All right, let's see. You can go to AdamCarolla.com. There's live shows coming up all over the place. I don't know. We kind of came out here with a skeleton crew, so we missed a lot of our normal sheets and bios and things like
Yes,
that. So
all
we've
good.
had to wing it. But why don't you give a plug for yourself?
Yes, I'm on Instagram, Kimbles Hume. I've got a bunch of dates. I'm headlining a couple of small shows in San Diego coming up. And then we're at the Belly Up on June 4th. I know that.
Yes.
Yeah, fun stuff coming up.
I'll be in New York at Sony Hall May 26th and 27th. It's my birthday, so come on out and say hi. And until next time, Adam Carolla for Kimbles Hume saying mahalo.